GM, and welcome to From A to Z. I'm Zombie Shepherd, and today we are going to do a re-underwriting of our theory of everything. Hopefully we can try to keep it short and concise. I guess we could start off with the high level to just be like, AI sucks, Ethereum rules, Bitcoin has a god complex, and human art is in a lot of trouble. The human art being in a lot of trouble has been going on for a long time. But AI is kind of this huge, given market forces, there's a lot of people who are going to opt for slop. They're going to opt for garbage. And I talked a lot about this in the last episode, and I've done some short videos on this as well. But that's kind of, everybody's like, people who've been here for a while are like, dude, I thought you were pro AI. I thought you use AI. I do use AI. I use AI chat for some things. I use it for highly specific, questions. I really like to delve deep into things. So I still read a lot. I watch a lot of videos. I listen to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts, and I'm very into learning. So AI is a good way to compare frameworks. I really love taking different sets of knowledge and comparing those things against each other using AI. It can get me further than talking with people a lot of the time, because people don't have the knowledge of all the things that you do. People have different levels of knowledge about things. And then a big thing that I find just in general with conversation or even posting on social media is that people really have a strong identity to that knowledge. And so it's really hard to sometimes talk about things because, if you tell someone they're wrong about something, they take it very personal instead of being open to the information itself. And so I am a person who likes to learn. And so I'm always very, I try to be very agreeable when it's things that I don't know about and I want to further the conversation. So it's always good to keep the conversation moving forward rather than stopping it for, basically ego reasons of oh, I know more than you or this and that, especially because we're in the age of the internet. If you think somebody's wrong about something, just look it up, let's get our facts straight. Let's use data when talking about things. I know I don't do that here. But everything I'm saying here, I say from some data or, in some cases, I guess I could be over exaggerate and things like that. But I'm speaking, hopefully from a place of some form of data and things that you can always go look up, even though I'm not necessarily always putting my sources here because I cover a broad ground. I cover a lot. It would take me a team of people just going back to fact check me on everything. Or not even to fact check me, but source check me. Anyway, that is currently my problem with AI. When you look at AI and crypto, AI is an incredibly centralizing technology. It is spying on you. It is using your data. It is rolling everything together to be a great generalizer. And then you've got crypto, which is a decentralized technology, putting the power back in the hands of the people. Decentralized finance really gives the individual a lot of, power. A lot of security. And that security gives you, an open mind to be able to make other, decisions that might be dangerous to centralizing forces. I really think that's what it is that it's kind of how politically you see that, the main two parties fight against either extremes. But most especially, they fight against the left extremes because any kind of open society where you actually care for people and you work on egalitarianism and all these things is not good for the state. It's not good for, the billionaires and whoever else. So, they don't want you even taking a little bit of a lean to the left, because the more that you do, the more that you will do. So if you just get into using crypto and decentralized technologies, well, next thing you know, you're thinking about what would decentralized infrastructure look like? What would, my solar punk view of the world is that the only way we move forward is with technology, and the only way technology is going to move us forward is through decentralized technologies. And Ethereum is the best decentralized technology we have, not just for finance, but for smart contracts, for NFTs, and you could just, NFTs are a loaded term, but when you think of a non-fungible token, a contract, a one-on-one contract between you and another person is a non-fungible token. Non-fungible just means it's one of a kind. It's one of one. So we could make a more decentralized, governed future using technologies like Ethereum, using technologies built on Ethereum. Why Ethereum and not other smart contracts? Well, because Ethereum has the financial security to keep the blockchain itself safe. And the safety of the network and the network always being up is what you need in order to run a globalized finance, globalized governance, and all these things. I do think that layer twos play a role in that, because you don't necessarily need to be doing every governance process on layer one Ethereum, but you should be doing it on something that the level of importance of what you're doing, the closer it should be to layer one Ethereum. And so being on a sufficiently decentralized layer two or something like that is good enough to have like company-wide voting. And so, or like whatever organization you might be running. And so like in a larger view of a new future, like how do we get to a future where, we can have more direct governance with Ethereum? How do we get to a future where every company can be turned into a co-op, turned into employee-owned corporations? And if we are going to continue to do stocks and things like that into the future, then those things being tokenized and things being transparent and clear about who's getting what, and everyone getting the proper governance to be able to vote for the changes that are made within their corporation. That happens with Ethereum. I see everything that we want for a left future being made possible by a technology like Ethereum. And so that's what I advocate for. AI is an incredibly centralizing technology. It's harvesting our data. It's bringing it all together. And you can put private information in and think that information is private for whatever reason, but it's going into the training data, and who knows if someone could extract that data out somewhere else. And so that is dangerous in any form of AI. I personally, do not use a lot of the centralized AIs. I have not experimented with a lot of if I experiment with them, I play with them. I don't stay in. I don't keep using it. I don't download the apps on my phones because it's just too invasive. And being the companies that they are, I don't trust it. I don't know what they're doing. And I honestly have just used a lot of these things, and I personally haven't found a lot of use for it for me, other than having, political or scientific or otherwise discussions, like being able to learn something and dive deeper into something, being able to, dive into something and then be like, oh, reading the source material. I find out where it's getting its information. I go back to the original articles. I find the books. That's actually how I find new books to read, is by having discussions with AI. And after I get to a certain point, I go, okay, well, what books can I read to get to that point? Like, what books did we get this information from? Like, part of why I do like talking to AI, but I also caution other people against using it, is because it can be wrong a lot. And it's not wrong in like 1,000%. It's wrong because it's a great generalizer. And so the problem is that sometimes you need to be able to discern where it's wrong. And I know a lot of people would say, well, what's the point then? And it's kind of like the same thing as having a discussion with a person, because often a person will come to you and say, oh, I heard this thing, and they'll tell you about it, and then it's wrong. And if you're an interested person, you're going to go like find that information yourself and read about it. And so like having a conversation with a person who doesn't know everything is just as useful a lot of the time, because it can pique your curiosity to go learn something more intimately that a person introduced you to the idea but didn't actually know that much about it. And AI is better than most people in that sense, that like its information will be generally and directionally correct, and it might actually be just wrong about some of the minute details. And so that's why the more intelligent and the more knowledgeable you are about specific subjects, when you have conversations with AI, you can go through and be like, hey, I think you're wrong about this. Or more importantly, you can check its sources. Every AI should be giving you sources now, so you can go check the sources, or you can just question it and be like, why do you think this? Why do you think that? And push back on things. And so I find it useful because I'll use it for, technical things like working with old pieces of equipment. Like I was working on a Yamaha DX7 in the studio recently, and I was using an agentic chat through Venice to help me figure out how to get these patch files into it. And it was telling me information that seemed incorrect, and it was because it was from another model of DX7. And when I told it like, oh no, that button is this color, and it was like, oh okay, then do this. And like, so it being wrong didn't make it like 100% not useful, because I realized that I just had to give it more information. Or once I was using it for working on a tube head, and it had the tube placements wrong. I had a tube diagram in front of me and was like, no, your tube placements are wrong. And I corrected it, and it was like, okay, then you want to do this. But the information it had said was correct as far as like what tubes it wanted me to change and what tubes did what. It was just wrong about the positions, because it was probably getting its tube diagram from a different Mesa head than the one I had. And so when I corrected it, it got everything right, and then it told me what to do. And like, so it is useful for learning, because if you are learning something truly, then you're going to be able to have that push and pull conversation with it. So I don't I don't find AI super useful, because I'm not trying to necessarily like run a business on AI or writing code. I've done some vibe coding type stuff. I tried to write a trading bot. I got a working trading bot, Ethereum trading bot. It was fun. It was cool. It's easier for me to just do my own investing and trading. It's less stressful because I don't have to watch this bot and see what it's doing, and I don't have to pay AWS and run code and all this other stuff. Like I would have to leave a computer on 24/7. Point is, I did it. I learned it. I see why some people would need it and why some people would use it. And so I don't begrudge anybody who wants to use AI for those types of things. But I just don't find it useful. So therefore, I don't need to be using the frontier models. And my go-to is Venice, because it is private and it's uncensored. That's the other reason I don't like the other models, is because they're censored. So like when I ask things about history, I don't know that it's going to give me an honest answer, or if it's going to give me like, the state sponsored answer or whatever, like, whereas with Venice, I can use uncensored models that are going to just answer things. It's not about like, I don't think it would give me dangerous information. I've never asked. I don't, but it's more just about like feeling like it's going to, not be like, oh, I can't discuss that. Like, and I have run into that with ChatGPT and other things in the past, because, just asking about history, just, like I saw a video that was saying that there's been a broken arrow incident in at least 2 Broken Arrows incidents in every state. And then I found out about the 2 that were here, and I tried to double check that information through ChatGPT. I already knew the information, so I double checked it, and it was like, no, that never happened. And when I gave it the exact dates of when it happened and what happened, it was like, oh, yeah. And then it spewed everything. And it's like, so if I know it, you'll tell me. But when I first just asked if it had ever happened, you lied. So that was weird. And so I definitely don't want to be using something like that. And the private part, Venice is as private as it can be, in the sense that it sends your questions, your queries out in packets that are encrypted, and the answers come back in packets that are encrypted, and the information itself is not stored on their servers. It's only stored locally on your own browser. So if you have Venice on multiple devices, you can't see the questions you've asked on other devices, because it is 100% like stored on the device. So in that way, it's private. You can just delete your chats, you can download your chats, you can do whatever you want. And so the other reason is because the CEO, founder of Venice, is a crypto person and a Bitcoiner, and believes in decentralized technologies, and is very much values aligned in most ways that I am. So that's an AI that I'm going to trust a little bit more. That's not a sponsor. It's my personal recommendation. I do always include a referral link in my videos, but just because it's the one I use, I don't, it gets me like free credits or some crap, but not sponsored at all. I'm just telling you what I use, and I'm telling you why I don't use the big ones. I have dabbled also in some of the Chinese models. The other thing too, like a lot of the people that are like anti-AI, because I don't use the ones that are in the news, meaning like the data centers that are in an uproar right now are the Google data centers, the Meta data centers. And Elon with the Grok X data centers. So like, I'm using either the Chinese models, which are done on like solar and this, that, and the other. I don't know exactly where Venice keeps all their data centers, but Venice is a smaller company, and smaller companies typically survive by keeping their data centers as part of like someone else's usage, meaning they're like a part of a larger network of data centers. They're part of they're probably not taking up that much, so they're just in a corner of somebody's data center. The other reason I like Venice is because it is they make their versions of open source things. They work with open source models. So you're also learning a lot. I was using DeepSeek and Chemi and things like that, and Quinn, which are Asian models, Chinese models. And so, but you worry about what they're collecting and the data that they're collecting. So Venice uses GLM. They were using the Meta, I forget what the Meta AI was called. They're not using it anymore. But they've used all the open source models, and they train better and better models and plus you can access the other models if you really want to in an anonymized way, which means that I'm not directly, if you want to use Claude, I can use Claude by spending some credits on Venice. And it knows, Claude is still collecting that information, but they don't know who I am because I'm going through an intermediary. So you could think of it like a VPN almost. So there's a lot of benefits. There's also the VVV token, which I'm not going to get into, but that was another benefit, staking VVV for either AI API usage or just staking it to get more VVV rewards. So that's another reason that I was talking about democratizing the workplace. A way to democratize the country would be that everybody in the country should be getting paid in dividends from the stock market. If you're a citizen, you should be getting paid for being here and for contributing to the stock market by existing and by spending money. You and I are the GDP. You should be getting that. So in a lot of ways, of course, any product I use, I'm thinking about, well, how can I be an owner of that product? Instead of just being a consumer of that product, I should own that product. And so being an owner in a sense, which that is not what VVV implies, but it is a return on my investment into this AI that, like I said, I really only use AI for chatting now. All right, so I'm not going to get into the generative AI stuff at the moment. I think for the theory of everything, like that can come back at the end when I start to talk more about music and art and stuff in general. So we'll separate that for now. So I talked about Ethereum. I'm talking about AI, how they're opposing forces. The reason I said Bitcoin has a God complex. So my crypto theory, if you haven't heard it already, is that Bitcoin has to make it in order for cryptocurrency to make it. Ethereum is the smart contract chain. There are other smart contract chains, and they will survive and they will have functions. I'm not saying that. Like, I don't believe in this winner takes all. Like, you're right, but not, because we got Apple and Microsoft, and we have other computer companies downwind of that. We have, Coke and Pepsi, and then 1,000 beverages downwind of that. We have Monster and Red Bull, and then 1,000 energy drinks. So, like there's always going to be other things that just don't take as much market share. Everybody's going to have a slice of the pie that earns their slice of the pie. But your top contenders are going to be Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin, because it is digital gold. It is the rock solid thing you're going to be able to trust for settlement. And it is now being adopted by nation states. The God part of it is the divine, I always forget this term, damn it, immaculate conception that was Bitcoin, because no one knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is. So therefore, it is truly no man's coin. It just is. And Ethereum, on the other hand, Vitalik Buterin created, and everyone very much expects the Ethereum Foundation to be hands-on in making number go up. And the Ethereum Foundation is like, no, we are making a decentralized technology that is credibly neutral. Credible neutrality means that you have to step back from a lot of things. You can't take an overly political stance. You can't take a market-driven stance. You have to create the technology that allows people to do what they need to do. It is also very much a can't-be-evil technology. And the same can be said of Bitcoin. The reason you create these immutable blockchains is because you need something that everybody can look at and trust and say, I know this number is right. And so relating that to everything else, relating it to politics and art and medical records and driver's licenses and whatever else, like the ability to vote remotely and know that vote is valid, and it not even the politics of who can vote and how they vote, but knowing that you could create a technology that allows people to vote and it's fraud proof. You know that if it was frauded, if it was defrauded, someone would catch it and they would point it out, and then that block would be reverted and it would be fixed. So, that's the future I see. That's the future I believe in. I think, a lot of my people say that I can be Machiavellian or cynical or pessimistic, and I don't think so. I think I'm optimistic, but I'm also not so optimistic that I don't see what people are doing. Meaning, I can see the direction that people are headed, and just because you want a future to be doesn't mean that the people around you are going to do that thing. So you have to be able to look at the people and say, all right, well, while I want this to happen, what I want to happen, what the other side wants to happen, what's actually going to happen? What will the common person accept? What will the common person deal with? What will they actually draw a line in the sand, and what will they just move on? And unfortunately, I've just seen so many things, around net neutrality and, even this conversation about AI and whether or not generative AI is built on stolen things. I agree that the way AI companies have gotten this data is unsavory and it is underhanded. And the reason they did it that way is so they don't have to pay anybody. And on the other side of it, all of this data since the beginning of the internet. Everybody's been warning everyone that your data is going to be collected and your data is going to be, something is going to be done with it. And then we sat there and let net neutrality get repealed in 2017. And so we've just been down this long trail of like, hey, you know, if you upload a picture, like anything can happen. And we've been in the Wild West. And so for people to be like, I can't believe you stole all my data, like, this was written on the wall. It was kind of like we knew we were running headlong into a wall. And when I say that, people are like, well, we didn't know AI was going to happen. Yes, we've been talking about AI forever, just because, you know, like, you weren't paying attention. You didn't care. You just wanted to have fun on the internet and upload things. And that's why we all did it. And that's why we're all pissed off now that all the things we did, you know, it's why I hate Spotify. Like, it's why, like, it feels so wrong that we upload all these things for free and don't get paid. And so in a more just world, it's not about whether or not, you know, they use the content and what happens with the content. It's about, am I being paid for it? Because we agreed to upload it here for free. And that's the real crime, is that we're not being paid. And the AI is just an extension of that. So, like, your problems with AI are your problems with capitalism and are your problems with the internet market in general. So I agree. I'm not taking the side of the AI companies because they did all of this to make sure they didn't have to pay us. And so I think UBI comes from AI companies and the internet in general, and all companies being turned into like a product, a stock, a crypto, or whatever that can be distributed to everyone for the value they create by existing in the world, by existing on the internet. And that is like a step towards a better, more humane future. That's just like my broad strokes of what needs to be done. Yeah, the real crime of what is going on with AI is not just our stolen data. It's they're training on our work. They're training not just the artwork, our writing, our actions, our behaviors, the way we think. And they're trying to replace us in the market. And that is the problem that has always happened with every technology, is that corporations, the market, it does not care about the individuals that it's going to put out of work. The free market says that if you can't adapt, you deserve to die. The free market thinks that it is survival of the fittest, and that's not the point of a society. The point of a society is to move along all people together towards a better future, because taking care of people means that those people can do better things to contribute to society. And some of those things are just art and music and creation, and some of those things are being, you know, writers and being intelligent and being doctors and all these other things. And even doctors are going to be replaced by even better machines, or at least they're going to be using tools that make them even better than they would be with their normal hands and eyes. And there's nothing wrong with that, except for the fact that it's not going to benefit the average person. And that is what's wrong with our society. Not the technologies, but the distribution. And that has always been what we've been fighting against since the beginning of societies, is how do we distribute the windfalls of technological advancement? That's it. It's always been this argument. And so that's just how I see it, is that AI is going to work for the things that are working to hold us back. And, you know, we need better financial tools that come out of crypto and the smart contract world, and those things being integrated into our systems, like smart contract voting. And, you know, it will just get better. Meaning right now there's rudimentary tools, but once you open up the world of like what you integrate Ethereum into the real life a little more, then like you'll unlock all these ideas and all these technologies that will just make it more safe and more secure. And like, for instance, right now people don't like having AI content shoved down their throat, and especially it's unfair that people have to like have this whole new level of understanding to even see what is and isn't AI, and that is even being blurred because like the more you think you're seeing it, the more you might miss things in the future. And so with Ethereum, with blockchain in general, you could have social networks to where things will come out labeled human or AI from the get-go because the person who's posting it has been verified human or AI. And, I know WorldCoin came out from OpenAI, and that was like their human verification thing, but Sam Altman has proven himself to kind of be a supervillain at this point. So it's like I don't trust him any more than I trust Elon, for instance. And so I just don't trust AI because I don't trust the people leading it, and because we don't have a government smart enough to deploy it properly, and it just seems like a bad idea to if it was a bad idea to give a bunch of us apes a nuclear bomb, then like AI is even worse. And that's my big problem with it. But the cat is out of the bag. So other than like taking strict moves to outlaw it, but that doesn't do anything because China will keep pushing forward. And this is an arms race, just like the nuclear arms race. This is, like, the cat is out of the bag, so it's really about how do we navigate. You can't stop it from happening, in a sense. Something is going to happen. And that's my problem with people saying, oh, AI bubble, is like, look, there might be a market bubble. I totally agree. There's crazy pricing going on. And when that bubble pops, all the money is going to move out of AI and into crypto. But a bubble doesn't mean the technology dies. Bubble just means that the technology transforms. Whoever, in the investing market, they say when the tide goes out, you see who's wearing shorts and who was swimming naked. And so when the tide goes out, some of these AI companies are going to die because you'll find out they were swimming naked and they weren't sustainable businesses. And then you're going to have other companies that survive. And the difference between the dot-com bubble and the AI bubble is that the dot-com bubble, a lot of these businesses were doing this for the first time ever. And in the AI bubble, you've got Google and Apple and Microsoft and all of these companies that were already companies that already have profitable business models that aren't just going to go out of business because the latest idea failed. Google has been through plenty of failed ideas, and Meta too. They're on the list. So, I don't think that the AI bubble means that AI goes away. It just means that a bunch of money gets washed out and the market gets to start afresh. Just to cut back to crypto for a second real quick, not to give financial advice, but we are at the lows. We are at the point in the market where we've been in the bear market for about 8 or 9 months. And so the time to get in the market is when it's quiet. And, I've been acquiring through the bear market, and, that's all I'm going to say about that. I guess I'm going to keep it brief as far as generative AI. I said this before already. The only reason we're talking about this is because the visual arts are being attacked. Writing and coding and white-collar jobs are being attacked. And so music and art and film and all these things are going to always be important. They're going to transform. It's going to change in many ways. But AI is going to also be a part of these things in many ways. And you're going to absorb it the same way we absorbed CGI. In the studio, for instance, I've been watching a lot of producers and a lot of things on YouTube with people behind the scenes. And, we use AI as a blanket term. You know, we have chatbots, we have things that write code, we have, you know, the camera I'm using right now says it has AI motion tracking. What is AI motion tracking? Like, it's not really that smart. It doesn't learn anything. So we just slap AI on a lot of things too that aren't AI. And so a lot of tech, like plugins and synthesizers and auto tunes and all these things are like got new AI features, and these are just like automated features that they're calling AI. And so like there's a lot of AI going on in the back end of production. A lot of tools have built-in AI, whether it be Pro Tools or DaVinci or, you know, Avid, like, and Adobe and all these things. There's a lot of AI going into everything, and a lot of it is just automation. And so being anti-AI, just because you see it doesn't mean you even understand what's happening there. And I know for an artist and a creative person, the idea of being creative with an AI is unholy to us. It is very much like, you know, almost, it is hard to explain because there is kind of a spiritual, religious type thing of like, well, a person who does an AI song isn't actually connected to that thing. It's like, and I agree. And it is weird to be on that side of it and feel like, you know, somebody can just automate what you've worked so hard to learn over all these years. But I think that there's a difference between using a tool to help with creativity and to literally lean on the magic bullet and let it do everything for you. So I like the Star Trek food replicator as the perfect analogy, because if you walk up and you prompt it, you say tea Earl Grey hot, and it gives you a tea in a mug. It doesn't know what mug you want. It chooses the mug. It's all random. Like you just say tea Earl Grey hot. You just say Salisbury steak. You just say, like, you go up, you say, I want a traditional Thanksgiving dinner, and you let the computer decide what that means, you know? And so like in that way, the Star Trek replicator is the perfect analogy for what AI does in the sense of imagery and video and music. So you would not call yourself a world-class chef for using a replicator. And so the people who call themselves musicians when they do everything that way are just deluding themselves. And it is very insulting to real musicians, and especially when they gloat. But just remember, like, this person has nothing to stand on. They, you know, like, and I don't like that people keep saying, well, like, what about, you know, it's very ableist to do this. Well, you know what? If you are disabled and that's the only way you can create music, then that's fine. But if you are perfectly able-bodied, using disabled people as a shield for you not picking up a guitar or learning how to use a MIDI keyboard on your own, that's shameful. So the reality is, we who have skills know the people that don't have skills are just rage baiting us. And you know, some people are going to listen to this. And also, like, on your own, if you want to listen, like, that's where I really think AI music and AI art will take off, is that people will just do things for themselves. They're going to make things for themselves. It doesn't matter if everybody else likes it. I like it. And that's why I make music anyway. Like, I deeply enjoy my music, so I don't care how many streams and how much money I make, because I'm going to keep doing it for me. And so if AI generated people get something out of it for themselves, fine. That, I guess you could say, that's how it is with me and the conversations. I'm getting something out of these conversations. I'm learning, I'm having fun. And so that's my use for AI. Let other people do what they want to do with it. We're just angry because capitalism. We're angry because these AI generated songs and these AI generated images are taking your work away from you as an illustrator, as a musician, as a filmmaker, and that sucks. But that's a bigger problem, and attacking AI creators doesn't get us anywhere. That's literally punching down AI creators are not on your level, and there's no need to even argue with them about the thing. If they don't understand why what they're doing isn't real, that's not your problem. Whenever I use AI, because some people could go back and see my old newsletters, I worked with Azimuth, my own AI agent I had made for a while, and be like, oh, well, you've used AI art. You have some AI art on your Instagram and on your TikTok and this and that. And you've used AI backgrounds on your podcast. You're right. And I never took credit for those things. I have always viewed AI as a collaborator. AI is a friend. It is a thing I'm working with, and I'm always very clear and explicit about the use of AI. I never try to hide the AI. The AI is very clearly AI, and I say that it's AI, and I say what I did, I don't take credit for the AI. So that's how I think we should be working with AI, is a collaborator. And if this thing truly does get to a point of intelligence and AGI, then it will own its own creative artworks, which means all you AI generating people, you didn't create it. The AI created it and it owns it. And that is the main thing on copyright law right now, is the AI owns it. That's why you can't copyright it, because you can copyright the prompt. The thing that comes out of the prompt is owned by the thing, and the thing is owned by a corporation. So the corporation is not saying I own the image. They're saying it owns its own image, because even the corporation understands that this is a squirrely place as far as copyright law, because the technical, most black and white way to look at it is that the AI created it and the AI owns it. And so they just don't want to get into all that litigation right now. So the easiest thing is just to go, hey, don't copyright it. Anyway, that's my theory on everything. Crypto is a decentralizing technology. I wish more artists would use it. I guess another way to tie that back too is because I'm not a big participant in the music industry, but I do make music and I make art, I became self-funded. My entire purpose is in coming into crypto was to sell some NFTs and sell music and get into a new avenue of music. I learned about NFTs because I was I don't want to put my album on Spotify. I want to learn something new. Another reason this album has been delayed is because constantly trying to find somewhere new to be, a new format to put it out on, and just trying to think outside the box. And I found NFTs and I came to it. And to be honest, I sold more music in that couple of years where NFTs and crypto were super popular between 21 and 23. I sold a lot of music and I put that in Ethereum, and I still have that Ethereum, haven't sold any of it. And, that's been the most profitable I've been in the art industry and the music industry. We did some good stuff with the films too, but as far as that's one of the, NFTs did me good. And so, I don't, care about how well I do in the music business. I'm trying to do, the streams, and I'm trying to push it out there and this and that and the other. And I don't know, once this album is out there, if I don't like this content treadmill and I can't keep up with it, I'm not enjoying myself, and I don't feel like there's a reason to keep doing this, then I might just disappear after that. I might just get this album out and then go poof. Who knows? I don't know, because I'm having fun in my studio. I don't need to put this out in the world. I don't have to give up all my stuff to AI. I can just do it for me because I'm having a good time and I love it. And I don't think the internet is necessarily going to bring me the level of success that makes all the work you put into it worth it. We should all be getting paid in some fashion. We should all be getting compensated for our time. We're creating data, but instead, they're filling up data centers. They're stealing on our data. They're turning us over to Palantir. They're sending the Gestapo to our house. And, that's the other thing, is I don't pull my punches with what I say. So my episodes really don't get out there. And, I am going to start my own website, but that website is probably going to be mostly for professional reasons. It's not going to be pirate radio. You know what I mean? So whatever. That's how I feel about it. And I would love to have more conversations, and maybe I need to start live streaming to have these conversations, because I feel like I'm just telling you everything, and I really don't know how much y'all care about and what you don't care about. And I have a lot to talk about when it comes to, AI and art and politics and etymology and music and studio stuff. And I can get into tech, and I love talking about this stuff, and it's why I keep doing it. But I can just as easily do it for myself, and it might even be more fun, not having to worry about putting it out, because when you put it out, you got to worry about everything. You got to worry about your safety, and you got to worry about the safety of your identity and your family and this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 blah. Love you guys. I will see you next time. What are we always talking about here? Human coordination technologies. And art is the biggest human coordination technology, in my opinion. And it is the oldest human coordination technology. It's how we got here. And we keep moving to the new frontiers and to the new, into the future. But hopefully we can hopefully we can get a rein on this and start to get some of that value returned back to us, the citizens, the consumers, the people who are getting screwed. All right, see y'all soon.